the big box outlet, DOGMAN. Dear Scary Stories NYC. I've got a short but sweet DOGMAN story for you that goes back a very long way. This happened near Chippewa Falls in I guess 1989 or 1990, during the period in my late teens and early 20s when I worked in retail stores in various capacities. I was a big guy even when I was young, so I could easily get hired for jobs involving moving big boxes around and so forth. I did do some on-the-floor sales work as well, but I actually preferred to be in the back and away from the public for the most part. So I guess that the time I worked in stores kind of marked the end of the way things had been done, and the beginning of the way it would start to become nowadays with the giant discount retail outlets. One of those years I got hired to work November through 2 days after Christmas in a sort of experimental concept store. I kinda got to see the birth of Black Friday in a sense. I mean, I found out later that the term had already been being used for some time, not necessarily in our area, but still it felt like I was there at the beginning. It wasn't like what we did invented the Christmas sale, but what we were doing was paving the way for what was to come in the 2000s. When I was a kid, people complained that Christmas was becoming too commercialized. By 2006 or 2007, there were people literally getting killed in Black Friday sale stampedes. People almost died the morning of our sale too, but it wasn't because of crowds of mad shoppers. It was because of the DOGMAN. So Tuesday and Wednesday of that week had been our main setup days. 2 days to get the entire place prepared for the public. Then on Thursday, I volunteered for the skeleton crew that was going to watch the place on Thanksgiving. We all goofed off, as you would expect. We hung a banner on the front of the old closed-down department store building that we were staging our temporary store inside of. We were in the largest central building of an outside mall, built next to a big empty parking lot. There were some stores still in business in the outdoor mall, but none of them were open on Thanksgiving, and so the place was really desolate. In fact, it was completely empty, other than our small crew, and nobody was even driving around through the area. It smelled pretty musty inside, and the weather was fairly warm, so we had the doors open a lot to air the place out. It was a large interior space with high ceilings, but the entrances and exits seemed relatively small to me. It was hard for us to get enough of a breeze going through there to get that smell out. So toward the end of my shift, one of my coworkers and I went out back for a break, and we both immediately saw the same thing, which was a big, black, shiny, hairy animal moving quickly between two trees. Its fur reminded me of a black cat, but its size and shape were more similar to that of a very tall man. It did have a tail as well. These were the things that we both agreed on. My coworker also said the man had ears like Batman up on top of his head. I didn't notice the head of the creature at all. I just saw the bent over bipedal running body disappear behind trees and bushes, and I saw its tail dragging behind it in the air as it dashed along. Honestly, it looked more to me like a cat's tail than a dog one, but it didn't really resemble either that closely. The other guy was also saying maybe it was a man dressed as a black cat or something. We both were thinking feline more than canine, but I don't know why. I do know we wandered away from the back of the outlet store, leaving the door wide open, and we wandered into the woods for a ways, looking to see if we could get a better glimpse of whatever that was, which we had seen dart into there. We probably walked around for a minute or two at least, because I remember we heard someone calling for us before we headed back. We both wondered out loud what that was, which stood like a man, but was covered in fur with a long tail. Soon it was quitting time, though, and we stopped caring about what kind of animal that was, which we thought we had seen. It was time for us to go eat turkey, and for the next shift to come on. So I was part of the early crew on Friday morning. We opened the place up and found it somehow smelled worse than it had the night before. It was a different kind of smell this time, and I wondered if some animal had died in there or something. If only the answer had been that benign. Searching through the aisles, we found a lot of stuff thrown around on the floor and torn open with what looked like big bear claws. We all went on alert that a bear might be in the store. Now logically, you get out of there and you call animal control to come take care of the problem. Unless it's 1989 or 1990 and you have a psychotic boss whose entire life savings is tied up in this store that you accidentally let a large predatory animal into. In that case, you stick around and you look for the beast yourself. I came across the largest pile of dog doo I'd ever seen, and as a result, I got the privilege of shoveling it into 2 buckets and carrying them both outside into the back. It made me think, what if when my coworker and I had wandered into the woods in the back to get a better look at that big animal, well, what if it ran inside while we weren't standing by the open door? Or what if something else just as nasty ran in at that moment? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that we had probably left a number of doors open for a really long time the day before, and on into the evening. We hadn't really expected animals to come inside, especially not large meat-eating ones, but it seemed that this must have been what occurred. I figured I'd better keep my mouth shut about what I'd seen, since I could get fired for leaving the back door unattended. And if it turned out to be my fault that an animal snuck inside and destroyed valuable merchandise, our nutjob boss might demand I reimburse him for his losses. So, I decided to forget what I remembered about that long-tailed man-like thing that I'd seen the day before with that other guy. And then I walked back inside and headed down one of the long aisles back toward the areas we'd seen torn up and destroyed. As I walked, though, I heard something behind me. It sort of sounded like the sound of a dog's nails on hard linoleum, but it also sort of didn't. I listened to it as I walked along. I didn't hear the sound of dog tags. There was no metal jangling around. It sure did sound like dog nails on linoleum, but something was missing. Turning around and looking down, I saw 2 dog feet walking on the hard floor behind me. Oh, that's what sounded different. There were only 2 dog feet, not 4. Wait. Turning around again, I found myself more interested in what those 2 dog feet led up into, above them. Well, it wasn't a cat, I'll tell you that much. It was black-furred. It did have a long tail, but it was not feline. It was some form of a canine, like a wolf, and like a dog, but upright, and standing bipedally, the way human beings do. Its paws were bigger than my hands, and looked like catcher's mitts with claws. Its eyes were like little white-hot suns, tinged in yellow and orange. They made him look insane, and I ran away, screaming. We had been waxing those floors for 2 days, and not too many people had been walking on them yet, so I found myself slipping and sliding as I tried to run. Behind me, that dogman, trying to run on his long dog nails, discovered that he was finding even less traction as he crashed from side to side, jettisoning things from shelves and slamming large holes in boxes. When we reached an intersection between aisles, I ran headlong into one of the other employees by accident. The 2 of us tumbled and rolled all the way over to the frozen food aisle. The dogman, however, continued to barrel forward, slamming into merchandise and human beings with equal abandon. I'm not trying to make light of things as a number of people sustained injuries, and I know that none of this was funny to them. I remember the owner standing in the front of the store, ordering everyone to stop running. I think some of them tried to, but a number slid into and fell over the boss man anyway. They couldn't help it. He was standing in their way. The dogman ran over our boss on his way out to the parking lot, which was the last I saw of him. Maybe the Dogman mobile was parked out there, I don't know. In either case, Once he left, he stayed gone and didn't return the entire time we were there, till after Christmas. I actually had a guy ask me once if I saved any of the Dogman poo, and I told him sure. Come around to my place sometime and I'll sell you a handful of it. He thought I was serious and asked for my address. No, of course I didn't save any of the poo left behind by the big box outlet, Dogman. I tell you what we're grateful for this year is our newest $7 channel member, Joan McKella. She gets to see our secret uncensored stories, not to mention our over 25 hours of archived secret uncensored Dogman stories. Here to explain the deets is our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman. Hank. Thanks, Biggie, and thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after, I think, 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.